Hello, and welcome to the Village Geometry course. In this series, we're going to explore how shapes, space, and measurements work, and more importantly, why they work the way they do. Geometry just isn't about memorizing formulas, it's about learning how to think visually, reason logically, and understand the space around you. Everything from architecture to engineering to simple everyday objects relies on geometry, and by the end of this course, you'll see it everywhere. Before we get into angles, triangles, proofs, or any of the actually fun stuff, we first need to start at the very beginning. Every single idea in geometry is built on a few basic concepts, and if they make sense, geometry starts to feel more like a piece of cake. So in this first video, we're going to talk about the 3 building blocks of anything geometric: points, lines, and planes. Let's start with a point. A point represents a location in space. That's it. It doesn't have any size, doesn't have any shape, and it doesn't take up any space. When we draw a point, we usually use a dot, like this. But that dot is just a symbol. The actual point has no length, no width, and no thickness. Points are named using capital letters, like point A. You can think of a point like a specific location on a map. It tells you where something is, not how big it actually is. But when we connect points, we get a line. A line is made up of infinitely many points and extends forever in both directions. Even though we can only draw part of a line on paper or on a screen, a true line never ends. We usually show that by drawing arrowheads on both sides, like so. A line has length, but it still has no thickness. Lines can be named using 2 points on the line, such as line AB, or sometimes with a lowercase letter. For example, line C. In geometry, we often don't need the entire line. Instead, we use parts of lines. A line segment is a piece of a line that has 2 endpoints. It starts at one point and stops at another. Unlike a line segment does not go on forever. A ray is another part of a line. A ray starts at one point and extends infinitely in another direction. A good way to think about a ray is like a beam of light. It has a starting point, but it just keeps on going in whichever way it wants. Now let's move on to 2 dimensions and talk about planes. A plane is a flat surface that extends forever in all directions. Like so. It has a length and a width but no thickness again. Real life objects like tables, floors, and whiteboards are good examples of planes, even though technically they have edges and are 3-dimensional. In geometry, a plane never ends. We usually draw it as a flat shape and just imagine that it continues beyond what we can see. Planes can be named using a capital letter or by naming 3 points that lie on the plane and not all in a straight line, meaning they're not collinear. For example, if this plane contains the points A, B, and C, we can just name the plane as plane A, B, C. So let's quickly review. A point shows a location. A line is made up of points and goes on forever in both directions. A line segment has 2 endpoints. An array only has 1 endpoint and extends forever in another direction. A plane is a flat surface that goes on forever. These ideas may seem simple, but they are incredibly important. Every shape we study in geometry, angles, polygons, circles, and even 3-dimensional solids are all built from points, lines, and planes. Taking the time to really understand these basics will make everything else in this course seem much easier. But in the next video, we'll start using these building blocks to create and measure shapes. And that's where geometry really begins to come to life. So, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.